So originally, Lightfall was supposed to be the final chapter of the Light and Darkness saga, but shortly after its announcement, things changed behind the scenes, and that original concept for Lightfall would become the final shape, which means Lightfall would take on a new theme, one far different than expected. Now before we dive deep into the theories, let's take a look back at the moment Lightfall was announced by Luke Smitty himself in the Beyond Light reveal stream, where halfway through the stream, Bungie just casually dropped these teasers for both the Witch Queen and Lightfall, which was followed up with this.
We are building Destiny's future today, right inside of Destiny 2. It starts with Beyond Light coming this fall.
It's going to continue with the next major expansion, the Witch Queen, and Lightfall is going to kind of drive this all to a moment. These three releases represent this new era in Destiny.
Lightfall will drive it all to a moment, and oh certainly was it a moment.
What just happened?
We just lost.
What is it, dude? We don't even know.
I could tell you.
But I won't.
But this is where the theories come in. The idea that Lightfall's concept became final shape, and Lightfall became a filler episode sometime after this announcement. So here's the overview of what the main theory is. Bungie realizes shortly after its announcement in the Beyond Light reveal stream that Lightfall, the ending of the Light and Dark saga, wasn't quite shaping up to be all that it should, and likely needed some more time in the oven. So they take the ideas and concepts, push them back a year, and rename it to the final shape. But Bungie releases a new expansion every year, so Lightfall has to be something. Well, the first thing they did was cut Strand from the Witch Queen in order to make it the narrative focus of the now filler story in Lightfall. Combine just a few pieces of the original concept like the Veil and the Witness, but don't flesh them out in order to set up the final shape expansion, and make the entire campaign now about Callus and his army, for the 5th time. Now there's a lot of reasons this is the main running theory right now, and a lot of quotes from Bungie themselves that solidify it to be more fact than theory. But simply looking at the things in game right now with Lightfall might be the best supporting evidence to legitimize this theory. For one thing, taking a closer look at the cutscenes in Lightfall. Both the intro cutscene and the final cutscene feel like one complete cinematic that was split in half. During the intro, the Witness confronts the Traveler and attacks us with his ships, and the Vanguard and the others are hanging out in the helm watching it all go down. And the final cutscene picks up what feels like seconds after that intro, where Zavala and friends are all still standing there in the same position in the helm, and the Witness is standing right where we left him, and this is when he begins to draw his triangle on the Traveler. Now one could make the case that this was the original one complete cutscene that was split down the middle, and Bungie attempted to create an entire expansion to fit between them, and I think that's an easy case to make. And then we get to Strand. Strand was originally meant for the Witch Queen, at least that's what's been highly talked about based on a few leaks, even prior to Witch Queen's launch. Though we didn't know the name of the subclass yet, Witch Queen leaks did discuss a new Darkness subclass, and it makes perfect sense for Strand to be that subclass. Witch Queen's story and theme had a lot of that thread-like imagery, and the idea of psychic energy and unraveling, all those kinds of weaving concepts, where Strand really ties in. And even the Warlock armor in Witch Queen matches the Needlestorm super symbol. But a few of the leaks suggest it was cut not only to make room for 3.0 subclass reworks, but also to use as a focus in Lightfall's campaign, now that the story was being reworked. Which is why in Lightfall's story there is so much focus on Strand, and why we get a Mr. Miyagi Strand training montage even. And without Strand in Lightfall, the campaign would be like an hour tops. So it's clear that it was very important to use in order to pad out the story to at least a half decent measure in Lightfall. Now there's been a lot of talks about reskins in Lightfall, and so far almost every single weapon is a reskin from older content. Even the enemies in the expansion are just Cabal again. Tormentors are new, but also just Rulk but small, and most of the public events on Neomuna are the same ones we've been playing since 2017. Now is all reskinning or reusing of old content bad? No. But Lightfall is stuffed full of them, lending more to the idea of it being a very rushed expansion. Now when we look at the original image for Lightfall's announcement, it gave a pretty big apocalypse endgame sort of vibe to it, which made the shift to this cyberpunk Buzz Lightyear aesthetic all the more jarring once we finally saw the reveal trailer for Lightfall. And that original image now looks a lot more like what the final shape represents, which means that again, Lightfall was likely made pretty quickly, and used some concepts and assets planned for its original iteration, but the bulk of the stuff was pushed back for the final shape. And what's interesting about all of this is this makes Lightfall very similar to Rise of Iron. Rise of Iron was also an unplanned expansion for Destiny 1 used as filler for the year, when Destiny 2 was pushed back from 2016 to 2017. And Lightfall serves as a filler expansion while the main course finale gets pushed back a year and becomes the final shape. And the only difference so far is that Rise of Iron was received much better than Lightfall has. Now, Bungie likely figured that with the combination of Strand and a couple witness cutscenes, on top of the cyberpunk aesthetic of Neo Muna, they would be able to easily sell the player base on pre-orders, and they weren't wrong as Lightfall became one of the top selling games on Steam prior to its release even, and its launch had the highest recorded player count on Steam charts. So Bungie's marketing worked really well for them financially, but critically, not so much. And Lightfall is a perfect example of what their new philosophy means for Destiny. Fast over quality. And I'm sure Lightfall was cobbled together pretty quickly behind the scenes, and you know what? Bungie still got away with charging an arm and a leg for it. So bravo Justin, your plan worked in the short term. But hopefully players look at Final Shape with more skeptical eyes moving forward, because players really have lost a lot of trust in Bungie's ability to bring Destiny 2 to a proper end with the Final Shape, and I really don't blame them after Lightfall's narrative. But the raid has yet to release, and I'm sure that Bungie's hoping it's received well so they can gain back some positive feedback, because right now, even the good things about Lightfall are being overshadowed by some pretty big issues. And those issues, I believe, stem from the fact, or I guess still a theory at this point, that Lightfall became filler while its most interesting parts became the final shape.
This 10-year journey we've been on since Destiny 1, it's drawing to its dramatic conclusion. The Light and Darkness saga will end. But make no mistake, Destiny 2 will not. We're building not so much to an ending, but more to this transformative moment for Destiny 2's future.
Last year, we announced the Witch Queen and the following expansion, Lightfall.
And now we're excited to announce the release after Lightfall, the final chapter in the Light and Darkness saga, Destiny 2, the final shape. It's going to be one wild, continuous ride.
Yes, and that ride starts with Season of the Lost.
When the final shape was announced during the Witch Queen livestream, everyone was genuinely confused because we've been led to believe that Lightfall would be the very end of the Light and Dark saga, but one more surprise expansion would be coming. At first, thoughts were positive, like Bungie wanted to flesh out the ending of the saga to be better, but it probably should have been obvious to us then that if Final Shape were announced, that meant that Lightfall wasn't shaping up to be substantial enough to be finale worthy. But most of us either brushed off the idea of Final Shape getting announced, or saw it as a purely positive thing. And maybe the Final Shape will deliver the ending better than we all imagined. But one thing is for sure, Lightfall's story gave us reason to be hesitant, which really is unfortunate to feel 9 years into the franchise. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think about the convoluted story behind Lightfall and the Final Shape? I've got my full thoughts video coming out soon, discussing the entirety of Lightfall, so stay tuned for that. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys soon.